Welcome back to the Go AI podcast to our audience members. Our guest today is Zoher Karu. Would you mind introducing yourself to our audience and who you are and who you're with?
So my name again is Zoher Karu. Thanks for having me here, Connor. I have been doing data and analytics for a long period of time, and more recently some more AI work in lots of different industries. My background is technical. I have a PhD in electrical engineering, but then I've worked at McKinsey doing consulting, several smaller startups, doing some interesting work around tracking customers inside of stores using video cameras and understanding call center conversations, and then sort of bigger roles and leading enterprise-wide analytics and data teams at places like Sears Holdings, eBay, Citibank, most recently Blue Shield of California. So lots of different industries. Right now, I'm doing a variety of roles, one of which is helping Taelor.ai. That's a men's clothing rental company that's using AI to help style clothes for its customers. So that's been quite interesting.
And so you've been working in data for quite a while now. Could you give us an insight into just how you arrived at AI? I know that data and AI are pretty closely intertwined, but if you could describe your personal journey there.
Yeah, I mean, AI, like any other technology, is definitely transformational, first of all. But it is a tool, like many other tools. And the problems, people lose sight of kind of the destination, and they focus on the means or the mechanism. And what I've found with AI is it's important not to think about like, hey, which language model am I using, or what am I doing here? It still continues to be important to focus on what business problem are you actually trying to solve and working backwards from that business problem. And, could you use AI to solve that problem? Sure. Could you use something else to solve it? Sure. But it still starts with the problem. And AI as a whole is not really new. Okay. AI has, of course, been in the news lately because of the release of ChatGPT a couple years ago. But AI. I mean, I did predictive models with neural networks, in school many years ago, right? And so it's what has changed is it's become easier to access, right? In the same way, the internet existed for a long period of time before the browser came out and then suddenly took off. AI has also existed for a long period of time, but now these large language models have made it easier for people to access and leverage its power more easily through some of these interfaces. And so that's what's prompting a lot of this activity that you see these days. So, how did we come across AI to answer your question? It's like, well, the easiest place to start using AI is sort of like productivity improvements, right? Like, okay, I'm spending all this time writing these emails. Maybe something can help me write these emails better. Or I'm spending all this time summarizing these phone calls and the call center agents. Can you just summarize it for me? So these are the easy place to start. But AI, or the AI as we know it today, is certainly far more powerful than that. So.
Mhm. And could you describe for me how you arrived at Taylor AI? Your
So
your
Anya Cheng, who's one of the co-founders, she and I go back quite a ways. In fact, I hired her for my team at Sears Holdings many years ago, and so she's definitely high energy, very smart, and has been doing a variety of things since then, at places like Meta and otherwise. And so she formed a startup and like I mentioned, I had left Blue Shield, so I said, oh, well, let me see if I can help you in some way. So we got connected about 6 months back. So
Mm. And could you describe what you're currently doing for our audience at Taylor AI? I know that you run AI there, but what exactly are
yeah,
you involved in?
Tailor is a tool that is a subscription service that allows men to rent clothes, right, for them, and these clothes are styled by both machine algorithms and there's human stylists involved as well. So they're trying to augment professional styling intelligence. And what I am trying to do using AI is to kind of scale this whole styling problem. Like, how do you find the right clothes that not only fit you but also look good together, right? And a human can probably figure that out. But as the customer base continues to grow and grow, you can't keep adding humans to solve this problem, right? And also, every stylist is not equally good. So, how do you capture that expertise in some sort of algorithm? And so, that's a lot of what's happening. It's not an easy problem. Clothing comes in a wide variety of sizes, and there are not a lot of standards, and people also have different tastes and things like that. But so we try to get in data, like asking the customer some questions about their style and trying to extract some information. We know lots of information about the different garments and yeah, what's on the label. We actually also physically measure some of the clothes so we know exactly how big they are. And then we try to use all of this information, including other and we use AI and some of these large language models that have been trained on a lot of things like, hey, those sweatpants don't go with a tie. Like, okay, got it, right? Like, I mean, you've got it. You incorporate some general knowledge, but we add in on top some specialized intelligence as well. So
And that brings up for me the this kind of emergingly popular, well, it's been around for a while, but human in the loop AI. Seems like you guys work pretty closely with both personal stylists and the AI. Could you describe a little more about the challenges as well as just wisdom about human in the loop AI for businesses that want to use AI but also keep a human in the loop?
yeah, I mean, it's to me. At this stage, human in the loop in AI is still pretty critical. In my last role, for example, in health insurance, one of our guiding principles was like put a human in the loop. Do not deny somebody care, medical care, just from a machine alone, right? Like you need because machines are making mistakes, right? Not maybe less and less so these days, but they continue to make mistakes. We need human intervention to watch over that, right? And so even in the styling world, yeah, if you leave it completely on its own, it does pretty well, but sometimes you're like, okay, maybe that's not so good, right? And so you need somebody to check it. But the goal here is to take a lot of the heavy lifting away and automatically, like, at least give me the stuff in the right size, at least give me the stuff that we have in inventory, at least give me like all the basic stuffs, right? So we don't have to, and the humans can really focus on what humans are best at, right? And some of the art. And so what we're finding is, a lot of the humans are like, well, okay, that looks pretty good, and very, minor tweaks if needed, right? If any. And so that's sort of the direction of travel. If we can somehow bottle that expertise, and use it. I mean, just like Tesla is trying to bottle the expertise of a good driver and use it in their cars, right? I mean, they're just trying to scale what everybody's doing. What I find interesting, philosophically, is that a Tesla on autopilot gets into an accident, it's like national news. Humans get into an accident all the time. It is not national news, right? And so it's interesting that people have different standards, if you will, right? For machines versus humans, but that's a societal thing. I guess that will evolve over time, right? So
Yeah, people I think expect perfection, but I
yeah,
think now that as we mentioned earlier, the wide availability of AI like ChatGPT, people are just able to open up a browser and get right into it. They see, oh, you can't get perfection every single output here,
yeah,
right?
that's right. It's interesting. It's definitely a tool. Is it perfect? No, not really. I mean, I've seen many cases where it insists it's right, and like, well, I know that's not right, And so, um, but nevertheless, it's clearly adding value in lots of different places. There's lots of studies out there. Like there was an MIT study recently. 95% of all AI pilots fail, and there's a lot of this going around, and it's kind of true because people focus on sort of the, call it the shiny object, if you will, right? And they're just like, oh, let's just do something. And they forget that implementing and scaling all of this stuff requires a real fundamental revisit of all your business processes. It also requires your data to be clean and well organized and all of these things. And sometimes people don't want to do the janitorial work it takes, right, to make these things successful. And they're really doing a lot of pilots, which sort of work in pilot, but then they're like, oh, well, it didn't scale, right? And so it's really important not to lose sight of kind of both what problem are you really trying to solve, but also do you have the foundation in place to really make it scale, right? Like, have you, retrained all your or redone all your processes to take advantage of this? Like, the phase one is make the same process go faster. Like, let's say you're taking calls in a call center. Oh, okay, maybe AI could, automatically route the call to the right agent, or maybe AI could summarize the call afterwards so the agents don't have to type up all the notes. Okay, fine. But just basically the same process. You're just using tools to help make that process go faster. A different process would be, wow, why are you even taking a call at all? Let's just get rid of the phone call, right? And so that's you really, you can get some improvement by just streamlining the current process, but you're not going to unlock the real value unless you really think about redoing the way you do your business. Right?
To go off the theme of rethinking, I would say just in general, what Taylor and other companies, as well as just general tools that are emerging, like virtual try-on from Google. I saw Ask Ralph from Ralph Lauren. They have like a personal stylist AI. Rethinking just fashion in general by implementing AI and having it play the role of like a personal stylist. Where do you see AI having long-term impacts on the fashion industry as well as just personal style in general?
Well, certainly one long-term impact could be around adding more data into the chain, right? Right now, there's a lot of clothes being manufactured, some many months in advance, and then being sent over. Some sell well, some don't sell well, things like that. And then a lot of it just ends up going to a landfill, frankly, right? They try to sell it at a discount, but it's not always, right? And so that's because people who are manufacturing these clothes don't always have enough information about what people really want. So there's a lot of demand signals. Yeah, you might know, like, okay, Nordstrom bought this many clothes, but what did Nordstrom actually sell? Okay, I don't know, unless they share all that data back. And by the way, which types of customers are buying these clothes? I mean, there's just a lot of data out there that is not easily accessible. But somehow, if you can connect the whole chain, then there could be a lot less waste through the system, a lot more customer satisfaction because people were actually, you know, putting together things that people actually want and need. I think that's going to transform the industry in the sense of more individual level data gathering, right? It's almost like, is the grocery store sharing data with the farmer? I don't know. Are they? Should they be? Yeah, probably. Right. Like, I mean, or even at the individual level, like, what are you cooking? Like, okay, wow, I guess I could feed that data all back up the chain. Right. And so I think that's going to be a big transformation. And there's a lot of move towards, do you really have to own everything, right, to enjoy those things? Like, look at Airbnb, right? Look at Uber. Like, well, I mean, you can get places without owning a car. You can travel places without, buying a house, right? And so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Yeah. So,
Taylor, I mean, one of the mottos is the Netflix of men's fashion. So, you think if you go to someone's house, you're less likely to see just a huge rack of like DVDs, but they'll have a Netflix account. Same with fashion, just being able to personalize them, just being shown like, oh, that's kind of I would like to wear that, but I'm not going to wear it year round. Maybe for this
yeah,
winter.
it certainly helps create flexibility, and you get more variety. And it actually removes a lot of the thinking process while still allowing you to look good and be successful, right? And so, I mean, look at, like, I don't know, Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. They're like, okay, black turtleneck every day, hoodie every day. They don't want to think about it, right? Because it's just one less thing to worry about. Now, if you said, and right now you have access to pretty much anything you want, get on your web browser, you can get any piece of clothing you want. The mental burden, however, is like, what looks good on me? How can I get it? Blah, blah. Like, that not everybody has the skills to figure it out, or the time or interest, right? And so, to me, that's a problem that can be solved, right? So that way, I mean, Taylor is not an online store where, like, hey, here's a bunch of clothes, pick what you want. It's not quite like Netflix in the sense, like, here's a bunch of movies, pick whatever you want to watch. We are actually suggesting to you what we think will fit your personal profile, what occupation you're in, are you traveling, trying to go on a date, like what are you doing, right? And we're trying to get you that to help you achieve your goals.
And obviously that involves, I mean, we've been talking about data the whole time, but data from the customers. What are some of the ways that you're using to get that kind of crucial data? Is it largely conversational, or are there other avenues to kind of get that data about customers?
There's when you onboard as a customer, there's what we call a style quiz. So you're filling out information about, of course, basic things like your age and your height and your weight, but body style, body type, and oh, here's some images. Which of these pictures do you like better? What's your style? What types of activities do you like to do? Like just trying to get a holistic picture of a person because we know from historical data the relationship between some of those answers and the types of clothes that people like. And then on an ongoing basis, there's conversations with the stylist, whether that's through the website or SMS messages or email or otherwise. And there's some AI being applied to extract value from those conversations. There's also reviews that you can leave on the shipments or the items that you received. Hey, I like this shirt a lot, loved it. Well, this one looked a little baggy on me. I'm not sure I like that, whatever. And so we're using all of that feedback to continually tweak not only what we do for you, but also can we use that information to scale and for other customers, right?
And to get back to your background and just deep background in data analytics and just, I mean, using data for business ends, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges going forward for business owners across, I mean, all industries is kind of a tough one to answer,
Yeah.
but just in general, in terms of making the best use of data as AI continues to evolve, especially
Yeah.
generative AI?
As you said, data is the foundation of everything. I think the most businesses, even today, small or large, fall in the trap of using data to solve one particular problem and forgetting that that same data could be used to solve other problems, right? But everybody's focused on their own job. So they're like, oh, yeah, 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 we just need to whip up this little database over here and we'll just, use it to see if our marketing campaigns are working. Okay, fine. But that same data could be used in the call center or develop product or whatever. And like all these things now pop up like weeds all over the corporation and suddenly the same data is in multiple places. They don't match each other anymore. We don't know what the source of truth is, and everything spirals from there, right? Like, um, I was working for Citibank in the past in Singapore, and I asked somebody in I don't know, Malaysia, like, oh, so how many loans were booked yesterday? They're like, what? Yesterday? First of all, apparently the hardest part of that sentence was the word yesterday because they only tracked it once a month. I'm like, what? No. How many loans were sold yesterday? I'm like, oh, okay. They go off and get the answer. Great. Now give it to me by time of day. They're like, what do you mean time of day? What? And so, because all they needed was how many they sold that month to get a commission. They didn't care about anything else. But what they failed to realize is that information could be used for marketing or call center or whatever else. Like they need to know, like call center needs to know hour by hour, like what's going on because people might call in, right? And so it's the biggest uh, unlock to me is think beyond your own job. This information is not just for you. All right. And therefore, it needs to be connected with everything else in your body, in the corporation. It's like a it's like a company's like a human body, right? And there's all these different organs doing different pieces of it, but it's all connected together. Okay, everybody's doing their own little job, but it's all connected together. And we can't have dirty data floating around. We can't have all these things. And so uh, it's think both beyond your own job and think about the next problem. Is this data organized in a way that's going to help me answer today's question, or also today's question and tomorrow's question? And really just thinking about that is what people often fail to do. That's the pattern I've seen, right? So,
Yeah, so just, I mean, to broaden out with that, it's just detail in your data, looking beyond just the specific first purpose of just like, hey, how many did we sell in a month? It's like, well, if we really specify when we're logging this data,
yeah,
who knows, we might
yeah,
be integrating with AI that could really use that information,
yeah.
that extra
And
detail.
especially with the age of AI, the more whatever dimensions you have to something, the greater the insights it can do. Now, you could also fall in the trap of being entirely technology centric and say, oh, we're just going to record every possible thing we could ever record, right? Like what the weather outside was when we sold the loan and whatever. Like, I mean, you can go crazy, right? And so it still requires you to have a business mindset. Like, okay, is the weather outside actually going to matter to anybody? Okay, I doubt that. Let's not do that, right? But if you don't have a business mindset, you're like, oh, sure, write down everything, right? And then you can go crazy. And so that's why it's important to um, think about the business problem or anticipate the business problems and questions that you'll be asking not just in your area, but across. And the greatest power comes from joining data across multiple domains. Like, is your web login behavior related to call center behavior? They're totally different, you know, areas, vice presidents, whatever, different. Yes, it's related because maybe the reason you're calling the call center is you can't find what you want on the website, right? Like, I mean, those things need to be talking to each other. And often those things are not connected. So,
To circle back to the fashion industry, and there's a lot of business out there within this industry, and the AI, again, I mentioned, I mean, beyond just Tailor AI, there's virtual try-on features now. There's personal stylists, chatbots. I mean, I'm sure people
yep,
go to like ChatGPT and just share their outfit and just say, "Hey, what do you think about it?" on a daily
yep,
basis. I mean, I could probably walk, I mean, 5 minutes from my house to several kind of small, still retail stores that kind of do things just the traditional way. It might not have much of a sense at all of how AI can help their business. What
yep.
recommendations would you have for businesses like that that are in the fashion industry and are curious about how AI can really help them?
The first step is thinking about your own business. What are the pain points in your business today? Like, I'm not sure how often I should order stuff. I don't know what marketing promotions to run. I don't know that, like, I mean, so some of it is just understand what you're trying to do today and then try to get more intelligence on doing those same things, right? Because whether you have AI or don't, you're still going to have to do these things, right? You're still going to have to stock the shelves, and you're still going to have to uh, decide if you need a loan or whatever. Like, but all of these things can all this data, analytics, AI, whatever. It's all to help you make better decisions, right? It's all at the end of the day. So you start asking yourself, what decisions are you making? Are you using information to make these decisions or tools to help you make these decisions? Or are you just doing it manually or gut feel or what are you doing? Right. And so that's the easiest way to think about it. Like I know it feels scary for many people. It's like, oh, we need to be doing some AI. Everybody's doing AI. Like, what? I just say, like, hold on. Why are you needing AI? Just why, right? Like, you don't want to feel left out. Like, oh my God, it's, the Joneses next door are doing it, so I got to do it. Like, hold on, right? And so it will be useful, but you've got to really think about why, because it's not free. First of all, it takes some money, but also takes a lot of your mental energy to try to do some of these things. And if you don't have clear ideas of like, what problem am I solving? How will I know if I solved it? What will I measure to make sure it got better? Blah, blah, like, you got to think about all these things before you even start, is the way I would think about it, right? And so, like on this problem, like you said, yes, there's virtual try on, and there's a bunch of stores down the street and whatever else. Like virtual try on, for example, what problem are they actually solving? Well, I don't know how this looks on me. Okay, fine. That's a problem. Uh, but a different problem is I don't even know what to pick, right? And so like which problem are you trying to solve, right? And so people can solve different parts of this problem, but Taylor is certainly trying to solve the I don't have the skills to make myself look good. So can you help me, right? So for example, right? So that I think it goes back to fundamentals, right? Like don't get sucked into the hype, right? It will help you, but you got a little bit of homework to do first, right? So,
Integrations, they can certainly be expensive, and so keeping up with the Joneses, it can be a pretty expensive endeavor.
yeah, I mean, you can look at all the studies. Like I mentioned, the McKinsey, there's an MIT one, there's McKinsey one. There's like lots of money being thrown around. Like the people who are benefiting right now is people like Nvidia and others. They're like people are buying chips because they think they need to be doing some stuff. Like okay, right? And so,
Yeah,
uh, but are you? What are you really? What value are you really uncovering, right? And like I said, I would do it in two phases. Do whatever you're doing now better. You'll get some value from that. Completely redo the way you're doing things. Okay, that requires a different mindset. But it's easier to start with the internal productivity improvements. Like one of the first pilots that we launched at Blue Shield, California was Microsoft Office 365 Copilot, which is just, helps you write emails and makes presentations and things like that better. Okay, there's some small productivity improvements. Great. Um, is it how much of an improvement? It's hard to measure. Is it worth paying X thousand dollars a year for it? I don't know. Is it like I mean? So these are the questions that you have to try to think through, right? So
yeah. Maybe a good analogy here would be if you just pull up like a Copilot or a ChatGPT and just type out "help my business." It's rather underspecified, and so that
yeah,
whole issue of well, how specific are you with your intention for integrating
that's
AI?
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Like help my business. Okay, in what way? There's like 15 different ways to help your business. So which one are we talking about here, right? And so uh, it's like my first job out of my PhD program was working for McKinsey doing consulting. Like you show up and say, well, my factory's losing money, fix it. It's too big of a problem. You got to narrow it down, right? Like, what are we trying to do here? And you can have different hypotheses, like, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe I'm paying my people too much, maybe, we don't run at the right time of day, maybe like whatever. But you got to really have an idea of what problem you're trying to solve and dig into it.
When it comes to businesses and data, what do you think is not talked about enough?
Data governance, I'd call it, use an umbrella term, right? Like, do you know where your data is? Do you know how often it's refreshed? Do you know who owns that data? Do you know who owns the definition of it? Like this is okay, in this table, I see this thing called high value customer, with a little check mark next to it. Somebody owns the definition of a high value customer. Who is it? Right. And I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of companies that have no idea. They like, well, I just get it from this table over here. Who owns it? I don't know. No idea. What does it mean? I'm not really sure. Like, okay. And so, or they make up multiple versions of it. Like the marketing department will have a version, call center will have a different version. They don't match, whatever. And so this whole concept of, uh, you know, really understanding what data you have, where it is, who owns it, definitions, whatever. That's one thing that people uh, neglect. Another thing people neglect is you can't just have a bunch of specialists and expect magic to happen. It's like I hired 10 data scientists, but I don't understand. Nothing's happening. Well, that's because that's not enough, right? And so you need people who it's like gears in an engine. If the gears don't touch each other, the engine doesn't move, right? Like you need yes, you need the specialists, but you need people who can operate at the boundaries, right? And can be the translators between different areas. Like, hey, marketing, what are you really trying to do? Oh, let me help you. And then you go back and you do some AI or whatever you do, right? But like if you have the pure technologists they don't know how to talk to anybody. Okay. And so that's where it all breaks down, frankly. Right. And everybody's just doing their own thing. Like, wow, I created this, chat interface, large language model, something, something. I don't understand why nobody's using it. It's because you didn't talk to somebody. Right. If I had to add a third thing, I would add, well, okay, I'll summarize it by saying it this way. Always tell my team their job has three parts. Part number one is do the work. You got the hands on the keyboard, you're writing the code, you're building the model, you whatever. Number two is communication. If people don't know what you've done or the value of what you've done in a way that they can understand you, there's no value in it, right? So you have to be always communicating outside of your own little echo chamber, right? And so communicate. And three is change management because whatever was happening without you. And now you want them to do it differently. And if you don't think about change management, like AI is requiring a lot of change management, right? And yeah, people at the top are like, "Oh yeah, we need to use AI," and people in the middle like, "No, I'm good. I've been doing it this way just fine." And by the way, you're going to change my whole job. I don't think so. Forget it. That's the problem. People don't recognize that it's change for people, and you have to think about that, not just think about the technology. So
Great note to end on. Thank you so much for being on the Go AI podcast. Is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with, whether it's where they can find you or LinkedIn or anything else you'd like to highlight?
yeah. My name is Zoher Karu again, Zoher, and last name Karu. Taelor, I would encourage you to check out Taelor. You can go to taelor.ai, Taelor .ai, and give it a try, right? And see what you think. Would encourage you to do that. Yeah. And or you can email me at zoher@taelor.ai as well.
Thanks for so much for coming on. Glad to have you. Thanks for your insights.
Great. Thank you for the time.